All right,
contact in
welcome
your
to the
phone?
Personnel Committee of the Albany County
case of
Legislature for
emergency?
June 26th.
Yeah.
I am your chair, Mark Grimm.
He started
Vice Chair
that.
Lynn Lakakis is to my
It's
left.
a nationwide thing now.
First of all, approve the
People
previous
coming in,
minutes.
they
Is there a
no
motion?
contact.
So moved. Ms. Touche, second. Mr. Ward, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. We'd like to take a couple items out of order. We've got the sheriff here, so we'd like to move to resolution item 4, if that's okay with everyone. Want to vote for that? No, okay. All right, Sheriff, authorizing the Sheriff's Office to consider out-of-county applicants for the positions of paramedic, part-time paramedic, EMT, and part-time EMT. Sheriff?
Mr. Chairman, this is an annual request we come back for. We're also this year, in addition to part-time, looking at full-time. We've exhausted all of our lists. It's continuous recruitment, but unfortunately, there's such a pay disparity that we just can't get people to come in part-time. So we're going to an entire full-time model in 2020. We're going to start to phase it in. It'll be easier for us to manage. We're also, we took over 2 volunteer ambulance squads last year. There's a third one that is starting to talk to us now, so we're getting bigger and busier, and we need to get these jobs filled.
You're getting bigger because you're just taking over services for little towns that can't really do it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
And it is, the revenue recovery, obviously, as our unit expands, the revenue recovery expands as well.
Revenue recovery, that means we get more money in.
Yes,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
fancy term, but.
We try to make it self-sustaining, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But it does offset several expenses.
Okay, yeah, obviously, because there's certain expenses you don't have to double every time you
Right.
expand. Okay, any questions for the sheriff? Yes.
What's the disparity between the,
Well, a typical example would be our paramedics are 22 and colonies are in the low 30s. They're a little bit the exception to the rule. Guilderland is $6, $7, $8 over us. Everybody's about $6, $7 over us. And the problem that we run into, Lynn, is that the whole program is budget neutral, with the exception of a little bit of money that, I kind of kick in for just some ancillary things. But we try to make it 100% budget neutral. So if we try to give these guys a competitive salary and move them up $5 an hour, the towns it's almost impossible for them to make it within their tax cap. So I've been speaking with David Van Leuven in Bethlehem. They're one of our largest partners. And we've gone around and we've talked to some of the towns as well. It's going to need to be addressed. Listen, EMS for years has been just kind of treated like a lower class public safety discipline. And it's time we address it. We do have, we're on the verge of a bit of a crisis within the county as far as EMS goes. Volunteerism is way down. Of course, when, we've got 90 jobs that we have for EMTs and paramedics. We cover a lot of ground. And honestly, their salaries need to be adjusted. We're going to try to do some of it in this year's budget. We've sent letters out to some of the municipal leaders that we come in contact with, but it's going to hurt them. It is going to hurt. So I imagine you guys as representatives will be getting the phone calls when the supervisors and mayors get the letters.
Okay, I just want to point out, this is a request for no expiration date on this year, because typically we go 12 months and then renew it. Am I right about that?
You have it ordinarily.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, normally it's got a sunset on it for 12 months, but
Because this resolution will not have an expiration date. Am I reading from the right place here?
I'm
No,
already
you're right about what's in the backup, but in clarification, in talking to the sheriff's office staff, it's, as the sheriff stated, he's accurate, it's a 1 year to hire outside the county.
12 months sunset.
Okay. All right, any questions? Oh, yes.
How long will the study take to get done, complete?
Well, we're not really doing a study, Joe. We've got all the numbers from the other towns, and even as, over like in Valatia and Greenport, all of them, we're even lower. Greene County, which is one of the more impoverished counties, we're well below them, by $4 an hour. So, it's something, I'm gonna try to do some things in the budget this year to try to prepare for it, but it's also contractual. So, we can't just step in and modify it, and I try to explain that to the commanders and some of the union leaders for that organization, but my hopes are that when this contract runs out, which I believe is in another year or so, that we can make a substantial adjustment to try to get them at least competitive.
Yeah.
And, listen, EMS is just as important as police and fire.
Okay, do I have a motion? Mr. O'Brien, seconded?
Second.
Mr. Joyce, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous, I think it's 7-0.
I guess.
All right, thank you, Sheriff, very much. Mr. Joyce, we have a similar issue now with Mr. Slatke. And this is, item 5, is authorizing the Department of Residential Health Care Facilities to consider out-of-county applicants for the positions of registered nurse, licensed practical nurse, and certified nursing assistant. Mr. Slatke.
Hi.
Welcome.
Good evening. Yes, this is also, as
It's a
the
familiar
sheriff-
theme that we're hearing on personnel quite a bit lately.
Yeah, well, we do have problems in many of the clinical areas of finding staff members, but the rate of turnover is much less, so we're able, for the most part, to be able to hire people in other disciplines within the county. But when it comes to registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, certified nursing assistants, clearly there's a national shortage, and in Albany, it's even greater. Currently, we have over 30 CNA, certified nursing assistant openings that we're having difficulty filling. We hope with the new collective bargaining agreement that'll be retroactive to January 1 and being worked on now will assist with recruitment, especially in that area. But we're still challenged to fill positions, and if we only were able to hire in the county of Albany, we would never be able to fill the vacant positions at all. So we're asking for 1 year again and see how it goes, and hopefully things will improve.
Okay.
You spoke in the past, and I don't remember exactly when it was, about trying to partner with some of the educational institutions in order to, and how's that going?
Well, we are used as a training site for Mildred Ellie, and we do have a separate contract with Mildred Ellie. In the year and a half that has been in place, we've only gotten 3 people, even though we're paying for the school in its entirety for the student, who has to give a 2-year commitment to us. Right now, Mildred Ellie is there with their regular school, which we're not funding, but they use our site, and there's 11 prospective certified nursing assistants. We are meeting with them during their stay at our nursing home while they're receiving training and trying to get them, once they graduate, to consider joining our staff. So BOCES is there, Mildred Ellie is there.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions? A motion? Mr. O'Brien, second, Mr. Camiso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Back to item 1, requiring a pay equity study. That's tabled, absent of sponsor. Item 2, promoting a diverse workforce, once again tabled, absent sponsor. And item 3, returning from last month's discussion, amending the rules to allow county employees to get their health insurance benefits after 15 years of service, not 20. The sponsor is Mr. Camiso.
And just for the members, I'm handing out an update of added sponsors. That's the only thing that's different. We had some additional sponsors added recently. Oh, I'll pass it. But that was
It's supposed to be on there.
as you
Probably ought to get a couple more.
Okay, I did contact the controller. We had a discussion last time about what, can we be even clearer about what the cost might be. The controller said he would look into it and get back to me, although he wasn't able to get back to me today, which I was hoping he was. But I think you're still pretty anxious to move this on.
I am pretty anxious to move it forward and would appreciate the committee's support, of course. To note, we have 12 current co-sponsors, and, as of this evening, including the chairman and the majority leader who requested to be put on here, very beginning. We have been working closely with the county exec's office to make sure all concerns are taken into account and their responses are in the backup, as you can see. This is a resolution to help both the county of Albany at large and the various departments, ensuring that our benefit package is competitive with both the state and the surrounding municipalities. In passing this, we'll be taking a major step forward in making sure that we are able to retain valuable employees who have continued to do the great work for the people of Albany County. I have done some review of the current concerns that we raised by several members of the committee, and I'd like to note the following. First, according to the 2016 annual financial report of employee benefits that our Comptroller's Office did it in compliance with GASB, historically, the average age of retirement in Albany County has been well over 62 years of age. And I think we all recognize that, seeing our employees day in and day out throughout the county. The vast majority of our employees, based on their date of hire and under Tier 4 of the New York State Local Retirement System, under Tier 4 structure, those employees would make a major hit to their state pension if they decided to retire before 62, just to get health care benefits. So the idea that people under the age 62 would be retiring if we pass this is not rooted in rationale fact. Second, our employee rules and regulations apply only to the non-union employees. There are probably less than 350 non-union employees in the county, and much fewer who would fall into the category of having 15 years of credit service. While unions may want this eventually, it will be a few years at least before CBAs can be renegotiated. Therefore, initially, we are talking about a small group that this affects. This is a common sense measure that will make us competitive and offer non-salary incentives to retain employees. I hope you will join me in supporting this, and I ask that it be moved forward with a positive recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do have a question.
Mark, can I just, the study that our comptroller put together, and we had a consultant review, if anybody would like a copy of it, referring to, so again, the average age of retirees in Albany County, looking back historically, is well over 62. That was one of the concerns raised earlier, that people with 55 years old and 15 years of experience would start to retire. So just from a statistics standpoint, that's inaccurate. Our history shows you have to be well over 60 before people start retiring. This is available if anyone would like to look through it. It's over 100 pages, so I didn't print out copies for everybody, but a lot of the concerns that were raised in the committee are specifically addressed in this document and speak to everything Frank just said.
One concern I have is governments in general have really struggled with managing healthcare costs over the last several years. I mean, they've continued to increase, and it's imposed quite a burden on taxpayers. And we've been trying to manage that. In fact, our collective bargaining agreements, which we just recently approved, require the new employees to pay a little bit more percentage on their health insurance, because we recognize the escalating cost of health insurance. My concern here is this takes us in a different direction. This is actually providing greater health coverage, going from 20 to 15. And it's going to add costs. And once we do it, there's no going back. Once you give a benefit, it's a lot harder to take it back. So my concern is this will be a recurring cost that will take place every year, and it's not an insignificant number. Any thoughts from members? Yeah, Mr. Ward.
I think the You make a good point. I mean, health insurance costs are rising dramatically, but we're also, this came up during a summit that was held, and I can't remember, it was a small business, or actually it was an employee, the future of our employee session that we had during the budget times. And we talked about recruiting personnel, and one of the issues we had was the qualified personnel really had a hard time moving from anywhere to Albany County with any kind of experience at all, because they have to come here and work 20 years to get their health benefits. And this was a major area of concern of anybody, in hiring anybody from outside of Albany County. And the other issue is you bring up the premium reimbursements are negotiable. In most cases, we've adjusted them on the non-union employees ourselves, and that's a whole different animal from, there's still costs involved, there's still post-employee benefit costs involved. However, this here is more of a recruitment package than the benefit itself.
Oh, I appreciate that, but recruitment involves a lot of factors.
Absolutely.
Culture, number one, management, opportunity to grow, opportunity to make a difference, opportunity to have promotions. Those are all factors too. So I think we do tend to overestimate compensation in the role of when people choose to stay at a place and they choose to move. In fact, the research is pretty clear. So I appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Ward, but this is my rejoinder that I know you've probably heard more than once, that there are many other factors in recruitment, and compensation is just, according to research, just about 25%.
And I don't disagree with you, but I bring a little history to the table here. I've been around for a while, and I've heard for many, many years from people that have a lot of experience in government that wouldn't come here because they couldn't work 20 years and get their benefits at the end of the 20 years. They're all going to get a retirement through the employee retirement system, but the health insurance benefits are very important to people, and they do shop for that. And Albany County is not going to allow them to receive health benefits in a reasonable time, before they retire. They probably aren't going to come, and we do need experienced staff here.
Ms. Lakakis and then Mr. O'Brien.
I guess overall, I support, giving employees as many benefits as we can. The couple questions that come to mind are that these people, why it is grandfathered? Why don't we just start this from now? Because we're talking about it being a recruitment tool, that's who we're talking about. People are coming to the county now. People who came to the county and are having 17 years knew when they came that was the part of their package. And so to me, it seems a little unfair, but I'm not saying I'm completely against it, but it's just something I've been thinking about. And the same also concern that he mentioned in the public sector, people are requiring longer and longer lengths of time in order to get health insurance and requiring people to pay more and more. And it just seems like this is like the backwards of what everybody else is doing. And like I said, I think we should give people what we can and to attract them to work here, because clearly we've been hearing for years that we don't pay enough. So this would be an attractive recruiting tool, but I would suggest respectfully, maybe we just started it right now rather than, looking at the 350 people that it would. That's my thought. And I'm not even completely committed to it. I'm just talking out loud.
It's a good thought. Mr. O'Brien, give him a chance to give Mr. Ward.
I agree with Mr. Ward on recruitment. We have a unusual, the state is right up the hill here, and we're competing with them on good quality, getting good quality employees here to work. And I do support this measure, and I would like to be added to it.
Mr. Ward?
I'll defer. I forgot what I was going to ask. So
I'm sure it was wisdom anyway.
it'll come to me as soon as you adjourn.
I want to give you a chance, Mr. Ward, to respond to the recruitment issue.
Oh, yeah.
What about starting with new employees?
Can I come back to me now?
Oh, yeah.
Years ago, it was 10 years. And during bad budget times, we raised it to 20 years. And, after evaluating it, again, I bring a little history here, and I was chair of personnel. you know, I really believe that we should now go back to the 10 years, but I think, you know, we can take some baby steps here. 15 is probably a good way to evaluate.
It's a pretty big baby.
Well, 10 years is probably standard in most municipalities, and I don't know what the state does, but a lot of municipalities are 10 years.
I think the state is 10 too.
Yeah, so that's usually pretty standard. You know, back in the day, there was people looking to work 2 years and get it. That can't happen anymore.
No.
But we went from 10 to 20. I really believe after evaluating it, I said last time we met that I thought it should be 10, but however, 15 is a good way to evaluate and take baby steps.
So what about the starting new employees? Because it does speak to your recruitment issues, so would that be
You know, why hurt the employees that are already here doing a job for us every day, doing a great job for us every day?
Well, when the state comes up with tiers, though, they do that all the time. When they come up with a new tier, it starts at the beginning of the new employees, the new tier.
Yeah,
I
usually.
mean, there are different stratifications within, the state.
Usually you do that when you're raising it. In fact, we did that when we raised it. When we went from 10 to 20, we started with the employees on that day, or, we set a date, and it was the employees hired after that date that got the 20. There was some before. So when you're going down, it doesn't really work as well. If you're going up, when you can set a standard date as of what date. But it's not fair to give somebody that starts today 15 years and those that have been here 20. That doesn't set for a good morale is the word I was looking for.
Culture. No, you're fine, okay. Okay, now, any other stuff? Mr. O'Brien?
Just, can we vote on moving it out, please?
Well, I'd like to do it without recommendation. Is there any support in the committee for moving without recommendation?
I'd just like to point out one thing.
Sure.
I believe it was you during the budget process, and I was here for many of those meetings, that the non-union workers came up many, many times, and you indicated many times that there should be an incentive for the non-union employees. And this is one of those incentives that fit very well with the non-union employees.
Well, yeah, we want to have incentives for all our employees to work here, but we also want to manage our costs too.
Well,
So, I mean, there's arguments on both sides, I recognize that. I appreciate what you're trying to do. Is there any appetite for moving it without recommendation from the committee? Looks like that's a no.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
you have, he wants to move it out favorably, so you should see if there's an appetite for a positive recommendation and then.
I believe I made a motion, I made a motion to vote on it.
On positive
On the
recommendation?
positive, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so second.
Mr. O'Brien's motion, second by Mr. Duché. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll oppose it.
Opposed?
Stephen, you're opposed?
Yeah, I sent out with no recommendation, just sent it forward, but it's okay, we'll move forward.
On the positive, there's 2 no's on the negative, okay. All right, so it's 5-2, it carries.
Yep.
Moves it forward with positive recommendation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner O'Brien, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned. Thank you very much.